a week since the COP26 deal was reached in Scotland, and while there are important targets for the federal government to meet, experts in Toronto say there's a heavy lift that needs to happen at the local level.
Hearing no objections, it is so decided.
With those words, a new deal on climate change among nearly 200 countries recently announced at COP26, but critics questioning if it's strong enough.
The parties come to these summits and they have the same dialogue again and again. And what we really need to see is concrete follow through.
A last-minute change put forward by India calls for a phase down of coal, not a phase out, prompting disappointment and questions if the goal of limiting warming by 1.5 degrees Celsius can be reached. Canada has committed to cutting greenhouse gas emissions and eliminating coal by 2030, net zero emissions by 2050. Ambitious targets, but experts like York University professor Mark Winfield say cities need to play a pivotal role, especially involving energy efficiency for buildings.
That is one of the areas where we're seeing growth in emissions and where we'll have to reduce emissions significantly.
In Toronto, a program called Transform TO hailed as a good starting point. It seeks to lower greenhouse gas emissions 30% below 1990 levels by 2030 and net zero by 2050. Greening homes, local renewable energy, boosting transit. All pieces in the local plan too.
If cities like Toronto adopt strong climate measures, there really can be a significant impact on global emissions. So Toronto is part of a global community when it comes to acting on climate change.
M.A. Ma heads up the Toronto Environmental Alliance, and she says people and governments all can take steps to respond to climate change. With extreme weather having major effects on communities, she says more needs to be done to protect and help vulnerable residents.
So getting involved with, your local residents or community group, thinking about developing some plans to reach vulnerable residents in times of extreme weather can not only be really, really critical in times of emergency, but they can also be galvanizing.
Meanwhile, Winfield says municipalities can't do all of these efforts alone.
So there are initiatives around that are trying to bring these pieces together at the municipal level. But they need more support from the province. They need more support from the federal government.
For more on this story, you can go to our website, toronto.citynews.ca. In Toronto for City News, I'm Nick Westoll.